people mention that your book promotes cheap grace. Does it also promote cheap hell?
Those are great questions. Let me just mention this one thing, that what the typical teaching about hell says is that evil will continue in God's creation forever. That's basically what it says, that there's going to be this place which has the majority of people that God ever created. It will be a place of seething anger. It will be a place of hatred. It will be a place of, I don't know if it's going to be immorality or not down there. If we don't have bodies, I don't know how all that stuff works. But it'll basically be a place of evil forever. Well, that is horrible, to think that God's going to have the majority of his creation pouring out evil. I remember when I was back in seminary, actually, doing this paper, I likened the idea of restoration and heaven and hell and all that kind of stuff to a large, beautiful white sheet. And God had started out by having this beautiful white sheet. It was woven perfectly. It looked absolutely wonderful. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. Then sin comes along and throws a bunch of black ink over the whole sheet. And then what the Christians, the traditional view says, is God cuts out a little corner up in the top, or maybe in the middle, but someplace it's just a small corner, maybe 10% of it, and he says, wow, look at that. I've made that all white. But then you still have the other 90% or 75% or whatever it is that people say is all still ugly and looking horrible.
Yeah.
And I say, no, what I see, and I think, and what the early church taught was that, no, God will ultimately take that and clean up the whole thing. So you don't have this cosmic graveyard. That's basically what the traditional view of hell is. It's a cosmic graveyard where a bunch of people are just stuffed over there, and evil continues on forever. And what Gregory of Nyssa, by the way, one of the early church fathers, who was one of the strongest people that wrote on this, he was basically saying, no, evil ends. Evil is self-destructive, and ultimately it will come to an end. And when evil comes to an end, so will death, because death is caused by evil. And so therefore, when we're going to have resurrection and we're going to have restoration, it's because God defeats evil completely, not just partially, but completely, and wipes it out from his entire creation, so that at the end of time, God once again looks at all that he has made, and it is very good. The average Christian would say, if there's a wicked sinner out there that they know, and that wicked sinner truly repents 5 minutes before he dies, then he will be with Christ in heaven. But if he were to truly repent 5 minutes after he dies, well, sorry, too late.
Yeah.
But I just look at that and I say, no, that's not how God works. God's grace continues into the ages to come. God does not cease being God. He doesn't change who he is just because we happen to die. He continues to be the gracious God throughout eternity, in this life, but the life to come as well.